everybody. How's it going? Can you guys hear me okay? Let's see. I think I need to. I had a few comments last time that the audio was a little low. So hopefully you can hear me. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for joining the stream, everybody who's here. And we're going to jump right into it. No introductions necessary. I do have a few items of business to attend to. If this is your first time joining the stream, make sure you're subscribed and with that bell notification turned on, because we are doing live streams every single week, and we are releasing videos on a regular basis. All tutorials about After Effects. So if you've never joined us on this channel, we talk about After Effects and particularly character animation and motion graphics. So that's what we focus on this channel. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about character animation, and we're going to be reviewing how to do a walk cycle and walk cycle basics. What we're going to do is we're going to look at an animation done by one of my students, and we're going to critique it. And then I'm going to show you some of the things that need to be adjusted a little bit. And we'll talk a little bit about the principles of a walk cycle. So hopefully by the end of the stream, you guys will be able to take what we talk about and kind of replicate it in your own animations. Mr. Harker, good to see you. Thanks for joining as always. Always a faithful viewer. And I always appreciate your contributions in the chat. So thanks for joining. Before we do jump in, I want to show you guys something that's coming out tomorrow on the channel. We're doing a little video on the channel tomorrow. Not a live stream, just a normal video. But there's one little scene. I filmed a little intro for this video. Let me see if I can transition here. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. It's just a little intro for this video. Okay. Here we go. Let me mute this because I don't want you guys to hear what I'm saying. You'll have to watch the video tomorrow to know what this video is about, but anyway, I just wanted to show you this clip from the video because I'm actually really proud of it. Oops. It was a fun little shot. Obviously, those are both me, but if I just play this, I mean, just look at that rack focus, okay? I don't know if you guys are impressed by that, but I don't know why it's kind of struggling to play right now. It's typical Premiere. Just when I need it to perform, it's gonna crap out on me. Anyway, you saw it. Little rack focus from me in the background to me in the foreground. Anyway, that's coming out tomorrow. And so tune in tomorrow. If you're not subscribed, make sure you are so you get notified when that video comes out. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, although if you look at my screen right now, you might find some clues. But we'll transition away from that. Man, my computer is running real slow right now. Is the music in the background too loud? I'm going to just bring that down a little bit. Yeah, my computer is running real slow. Let me close down some apps here before I get started, or else this is going to be really painful for you guys to watch. I'm watching the stream and it's just chugging along, huh? I'm just gonna... In fact, I'm going to close Premiere since I only had it open to show you guys that one clip. Sorry, guys. Apologize for the delay. I'm just trying to get my computer so that it's not streaming so choppily. We got some issues with the bitrate. Okay, closing Premiere did seem to help a little bit. There we go. Okay. Okay, so let's get started. How many people we got? Okay, good. All right, let's get started on this walk cycle. So this is an animation from my course, one of the students from my course. If you want to go check out the course, you can go to keyframeacademy.com/character launchpad. It's a course about character animation. I do everything. I go through the design process to the setting up process, their character rigging, all the way through animation. We do it in 3 different parts, basics, and then we bump it up to 2.5D, and then we kind of go into this kind of more dynamic animation. If you want to go to this website, you can find out more. So let's jump into After Effects. And After Effects is not showing up. Apologies, everybody. This is what happens when you are busy editing a video before you jump on the live and you didn't have time to check everything. Okay, here we go. I'm going to play the animation, then we'll go through it. Okay, let me do that. Here we go. One more playthrough. Okay. So it's pretty good. All the right things are happening in terms of the arm swinging. So as this leg comes forward, this arm is going backward, and vice versa. This arm is going moving in the forward direction as this leg is moving backward. So that's good. The body bouncing up and down is pretty good. I like that motion. The cadence is good. There are a couple things we need to adjust. So let's start with those. First of all, the most glaring issue to me is the feet are sliding on the floor as the character walks, right? You can tell, like, if I put if I go to where this foot touches down and I put a little marker there. Hopefully you guys can see that with the YouTube compression. If I put a little marker there, let me just turn off the background because I think you'll be able to see it better. There we go. Hey, John Vocatura. I hope I said that nice. Right. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Okay, so we have the tiptoe right here, and then if I keep advancing down frame by frame, you'll see that it is sliding. So we need to fix that, and it's an easy fix. That's an easy fix, and a lot of times what happens, this isn't the case for this particular animation, but I get this question a lot from a lot of different people because they're wondering, how do I make my character walk across the screen without the foot sliding? So I'm excited to address this issue in this live stream because this is a common question I get. Now, a lot of people, what they try to do is they'll do a walk cycle loop inside of a composition, right? So they'll just create their walk cycle loop and then they'll pre-comp everything. and then they'll just keyframe the position of the composition. So they'll just take that character composition, keyframe the position to go from left to right or whatever. And what ends up happening is you have a lot of sliding in the foot. The foot doesn't just plant on the ground. And for me, I've tried many different ways to try to mitigate that by maybe, keyframing the position of the composition to match the cadence of the walk. It just never works out for me. So my approach is a little bit more of a manual approach, but I think the result is pretty good. And it is what this student is doing, although for some reason there's still a little bit of sliding, but I think we can fix it. The other thing is when the character stops and goes to wave, the wave, it needs a little bit of adjustment. There's some really good things. The offset of the motion of the forearm and the hand are correct. So you're getting kind of that wavy motion. But there's a little bit of adjustments there. So outside of those two adjustments, fixing the feet sliding and the wave, we have a pretty good animation here. So let's jump in. So I'm going to jump into the composition, and the first thing I want to do is just address the foot sliding. So here we go. We are going to, looks like a lot of this is in Russian, so hopefully I can find what I'm looking for. Okay, so just as I suspected, if we look at the motion path of this foot, you can see this part right here. This is where the foot is sliding, and I know that because I know that this is where the foot is being lifted and brought forward. So to fix that, the reason why this is happening is because these two keyframes right here, these two keyframes are not the same. Okay, these two keyframes are different values because we've separated the X and Y so we can keyframe the X and Y positions separately, and we just need to make this keyframe and this keyframe the same, and we'll have fixed the foot sliding issue. Now I could just copy this keyframe and paste it here, but then maybe the foot is a little too extended. So then maybe I say, okay, well, let's copy this keyframe, paste it there, but then we need to check when we go over here. There we go. Looks like I did, for whatever reason, it didn't copy when I first did it. Okay. So if we copy this keyframe and paste it here, we just need to go to this contact pose and make sure that this leg is not too overextended. And it looks like it might be. So now that both of these keyframes are the same, we can adjust them both at the same time. And I can bring that forward a little bit. And we're going to kind of find the in-between point of both steps. And this is something I teach in the course when we're doing a character walk cycle like this. What we're doing is we're going from contact pose to contact pose to make sure that the pose looks good, the legs are in a good position, they're not too extended, they're not too underextended, etc., because a lot of the poses in between the contact poses will just get taken care of by the way that the keyframes work. So, and of course, this other foot is also sliding right here, so we'll go to that controller, and then again, the reason why is because our two X keyframes here in between the steps are not the same, so let's just copy this and paste it here. But then again, see, this is what happens if I just copy one of these keyframes. The leg might be a little too extended, so I'll just grab them both and bring it up, but now I need to check right here to make sure I'm not bringing it too far to the left. Okay, so Okay, already just with correcting those 2 steps, it already looks 100% better, right? Because we're not sliding anymore. And see how, like, and this just goes to show, like, the other parts of this animation are done really well, because now we fixed those 2 issues. It already looks pretty good, right? We don't really have to adjust much else. There is this part, and I think this is just my own personal thing here, is I think this comes over just a little too far. There we go. A little bit more balanced. Kind of looks like the hands are floating too long in their most forward position, in my opinion. Cool character design. Yeah, in fact, this character design is from the template. I provide templates for you to design your characters around in Illustrator. So again, in my course, I talk about how to design characters so that they're easy to rig. So how do we deal with joints and whatnot? As a part of that lesson, I also provide a template that just has the basic building blocks so that you can design your character around that. And then this character is a character in that template file that I provide as kind of an example of how you can take those basic shapes and design out a character. So, you know, I don't want character design to be a huge hurdle before you can actually get into character animation. So that is why I provide that template. And I just realized something, that my chat highlight is not set up. So let me set that up real quickly. There. That was the comment I was just responding to. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this, like you said, Greg, this is kind of a opinion-based feedback. I would tend to agree with you a little bit. Maybe they do kind of spend a little too much time in the forward position. I'm not going to correct that because, again, that just boils down to personal opinion, what you like and dislike in animation. I will say that, like, this is another opinion thing, but when I come to a rest, I always like my arms to not just be straight like this. So what I would do is just give them a little bit of a bend. That's a resting arm to me. I don't like arms being resting in a straight line. One, it's not aesthetically pleasing. And two, our arms don't actually rest in a straight line. So, but mostly it's just not aesthetically pleasing to me. Okay. So now that we have the basic animation, I do think that this last step on this foot is a little too far forward. So I'm going to come back to that and bring it back, which means I'll probably have to adjust the position of the, yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just add in one step here. Just a small step of it coming forward. Oops. So when I'm doing the steps, I like to keyframe the horizontal movement, so the X position, and then I'll go back and I'll usually just copy the Y position keyframes from another step and just paste them in like that. And obviously this little step, like lifting the foot that high, is too much. So we'll just make it a real subtle step. And then, of course, let's see. I think that... Now, I would normally keyframe the rotation on the ankle controller rather than the foot layer, but this person has done it on the foot layer, it looks like. And the rotation point is a little off from where I would have put it. So I'm going to fix this really quick because this is what I would do. Okay, I'm going to take the foot layer and I'm going to delete the rotation keyframes on that foot layer. And it is parented to the right ankle, which is good. So what I would do is keyframe the right ankle. Okay. Okay, so there's a setting in Limber that allows you to have control over the rotation values of this, and this person did not have that turned on when they created these limbs, so we don't have that. So that is why they are keyframing the shoe. So we'll just re-keyframe the shoe. That's my mistake. I realized that they were doing it a little bit differently. And before it hits the ground, it rotates up a little bit. And then the frame after it hits the ground, we go to 0 rotation. And then we can just copy those rotation keyframes. First, I might add some easing. Okay, and then I'm going to copy those rotation keyframes and paste them on all my other steps. And if we have an even cadence, they'll all match up with the steps. And then this one, of course, because we're not lifting, it's just a small step. We don't need to, the rotation doesn't need to be as extreme, right? We're just making it subtle. Can you suggest any course for creating characters like free pick characters? You mean just the illustration portion, or do you want to animate them? Because again, self promotion here. Obviously, this is my channel. In my course, we do go over how to design a character. So you could take that method and apply it to a character from free pick, which I actually do all the time. Saves me a lot of time on the illustration process. If your goal is just to draw characters and not animate them, I do not have a suggestion on a course that will help you do that. But in terms of taking and retrofitting a character from free pick, bringing it into Illustrator, modifying it so that you can rig it, and then bringing that to After Effects and rigging it, that's all taught in my course. So good question. Okay, so let's see how this looks. It's pretty good. So I always like to see it all together. And I think because we've added in that last little... Man, my computer is just chugging today, man. I don't know what is the deal. Anyway, so because we're adding in this last little step, I'm going to add one more little body. Man, you can tell how slow my After Effects is going. This is when I get really frustrated with After Effects because it's not even rendering anything right now. And, you know, clicking this and dragging across my timeline, like, look how delayed that is. Oh my gosh. It's the life of an After Effects user. Okay. Let's preview that again. And I think this, I'm going to not have it dip down so much. What are you doing? Jeez. Okay. Like, it's one thing when After Effects takes a while to render frames. It's a whole nother thing when the whole interface just slows down. Like the whole program, like clicking on things is delayed. It just, I don't know. I don't get it. Okay, so we're going to make a few other adjustments. I'm going to adjust the easing of this walk cycle. So these last couple of frames, these last couple of steps, sorry, not frames, are going to be a little bit shorter. You can look at this, like the first step is larger and then they kind of get smaller. That's all because we're able to ease just the x-axis. So if I really want to extreme slowdown, but we'll just do that. And this is just making the torso come to a gradual stop, a more gradual stop, instead of just going, you know, stopping, right? But whenever we do that, we have to go back and readjust all of our steps because that is going to affect our steps. So let's start at the beginning. At the first contact, that looks good. I think that this foot probably needs to come forward a little bit. Which means, you know, it's going to start kind of in the frame, but that's okay. Okay, so I think that contact looks good. We'll go to the next one. That looks good, and I think that looks good. Okay. I think this one could come forward a little bit more, which means I may not even need that extra step because we've kind of adjusted the easing. It still works. Okay. Okay, so, and that's the thing about character animation. Even though I've done this many, many times, you're still kind of fiddling with things. You're still kind of working things out, especially when you look at somebody else's animation. But I think that's pretty good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the rotation. I'm going to bring, so right as the character reaches this point, the animation for the waving starts, and I want that animation to be delayed just a little bit. So I don't want this character to immediately start waving. So I've got to make sure I'm selecting all my keyframes. In fact, I'm going to deselect everything, hit U on my keyboard to bring up all the keyframes for every layer, just so I can make sure I'm selecting everything. I don't think I need these keyframes. Well, I'll keep these just in case. So I'm just going to delay these a little bit. Not this one. That one. Not this one. Not that one. Not those. Okay. So we're just going to delay those a little bit. Okay, so now the body kind of rocks forward as the arm is brought up and then comes back. That's just trying to add a little bit more motion into that action. At these moments when Adobe slows up, it's my computer telling me it's time to go to bed. Yeah, but see, here's the... I understand what you're saying. Here's the thing, though. All of a sudden, it's much more responsive. Like, what changed in what I was doing? I have no idea. I'm doing the same thing, but all of a sudden now it's running fine. It just like, it's almost like it has like, it gets tired or something, but whatever. I don't know. Okay, Limber is a paid plugin. Duic Basel is free. Which one do you suggest for a beginner? I suggest Limber. There's a reason why Limber costs money, and that's because it's really easy to use. Now, Duic Basel is not actually free. Yes, it technically is free because you can go and you can download it and you can use it. There's no licensing infrastructure for Duic. You don't have a license key or anything like that. But the thing about Duic is that if you use it for commercial purposes, you should donate to Duic Basel or to I forget the company name. You should donate to those guys because you are using their tool to make money, and they spend a lot of time developing that. But they're kind of relying on the goodwill and honesty of people to donate when they actually use Duic to make money. Now, it's as far as my understanding. I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding. Now, if you, however, I do have a lot of respect for those guys because they don't want purchasing the product to be a barrier to using it and learning character animation, because character animation is a huge deal. Character animation is a huge deal. Eric, thanks for subscribing. And so, it's got a steep learning curve. So having to spend a big chunk of money before you can even start that and even know if you want to continue learning character animation, I think is a huge barrier to a lot of people. So they are offering it. Hey, if you want to download this, start using it, learn character animation, great. But I think, if you do start making money from character animation, you should donate and support them because, you know, Duic is an incredible tool and it took a lot of time to develop, and so those guys do deserve some money. However, I use Limber, and I love Limber because of its simplicity, and Limber I think is like $40. So I mean, it's, if even for a beginner motion designer, Limber is less than an hour's worth of work to pay for it. And it's just so much easier to use. And so you get to the actual animation part of character animation instead of spending a bunch of time on the setup part. So anyway, good question. Hopefully that answered it. Okay, continuing on with this character animation. You'll notice I play back my animations over and over and over because a lot of times when you get the main kind of motion down on your timeline, then the process is going back and making little minute changes and adjustments to the character animation, to different parts of it. So that's why you'll see me watching this over and over and over. When I'm doing a character animation, by the end of it, I've probably watched 1,000 times, right? And I've looked at every single little aspect of it and made adjustments to it. So okay, so let's fix this waving motion. So I'm going to find the right wrist, or whatever wrist this is, left wrist. And I'm going to bring up the keyframes for the waving motion. And these keyframes are for when they bring the arm up. And then we have the waving motion. Now, I wonder if any of you guys can immediately spot what is wrong with the way that this was animated. And it's really simple. It's a really simple fix. So when doing a waving motion, we want to start with the arm down by the side. And of course, like I just mentioned, I don't like my arm to be straight like this. I like it to be sort of bent. So, you know, I have it like that. And I'd copy those keyframes. Okay, so as it comes to rest, it's just going to come right there. Okay, so as it goes from its resting position up to the first kind of motion of the wave, what this animation is doing is you have two, when your arm is raised to wave, okay, see if I can, let's go to big screen so I can illustrate this. Okay, so when your arm raises to wave, you have basically then two positions. You have in and out. And you just animate between these in and out, in and out, in and out. So what this animation is doing is it's being raised. So you go raised to the in position and then the out, in, out, in, out. And you always end on in and then you go down. What this animation is doing is it's coming up to the out position and then it's going in. So let's see how that works on animation. Hopefully that makes sense. So so here we are on the out position, right? And then the arm comes in towards the body and then it goes back to the out position. So out, in, out, right? And then in again. And this is what makes the waving animation. So it's starting on out and ending on out. So what we need to do is we actually need to do the opposite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these keyframes and just delete them. Come up here. Okay. So let's look at the, okay. And again, I'm going to exaggerate my in position. And then I will Copy and paste that. Copy, paste. Okay. So we go in, out, in. We'll add one more out. And that needs to be right there. And then we'll add one more in because we want to end on in. And we need to end on in. And then back to okay. Okay. And then I'm just gonna adjust the easing on that. And we'll take the easing from the hand, copy it, paste it. And I'm just going to isolate this part of the animation so we can just quickly preview. Okay, so there is this part right here where the upper arm, this part of the arm, even though this keyframe and this keyframe are the same, come on, preview. Let's go. Okay. I don't want this to move. So these are the same, and I don't know if you guys have ever run into this issue before, but you have two identical keyframes, but if these two are the same, then why is that upper arm still rotating? And I think if we go into the graph editor and we go to the value graph, you can see that the line in between them is not this straight. So we just need to straighten out that line. Okay. Now it doesn't rotate. So that's one way to fix that. Let me undo that. Another way to fix that issue, and this issue happens a lot with the position property too, is you can come into the keyframe interpolation by right-clicking. If you right-click on your keyframe, you'll have a little menu, keyframe interpolation, and oh, wait a second. I don't know if this works. That works for spatial interpolation. Let's put it to linear. It's going to do the same thing. So now you have that line, but then you lose your easing on the outgoing on either side of those keyframes. So I probably would, just fix it by doing that. That way I'm maintaining the easing as it comes out of that keyframe. This doesn't have to be your last question. You can ask as many questions as you want. Envato Marketplace templates, the like explainer video toolkit. They offer some character animations. What software do they use, and how do they do that? I'm not sure. I've never used one of those toolkits, so I am not sure what software they're using. Sometimes they're just rigging up the characters themselves without anything, which you can do too if you know expressions, but I am not. I'm not experienced enough in expressions, so I just use these tools. But yeah, sorry, I don't know the answer to that question. Topaz Buffalo says, I recently got into your animation and your videos have helped a lot. I never thought it was so tedious. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Well, I'm hoping that my videos are making it less tedious for you. Character animation can be very tedious, but there's a lot of ways to simplify it. And that's what I intend to help share with people. So thanks for joining the channel, and hopefully you're subscribing. And make sure you hit that like button on the video. Tells YouTube that you guys like this video and that other people might like this video, so it'll suggest it to more people. All right, let's keep going. Okay, and speak of the devil, it looks like we do have a little bit of issue with the position of our torso moving. But that could just be because this keyframe and this keyframe are not the same. And it looks like that was the case. And I actually don't know. Oh, this was a little jump animation that was not completed, so we're not going to really worry about that. Okay. Now it will say on the rotation of the hand, it does get a little crazy right here. So sometimes you can fix that by just adjusting the easing. And the timing of that. Okay, now let's fix the body rotation. Okay, so Again, we have this issue with the rotation, so we just need to smooth out this line. Again, we're in the value graph as opposed to the speed graph. And so value graph, we actually are looking at how After Effects is changing the values of the property over time rather than just the velocity of change or the rate of change. So a lot of times when you have two identical keyframes but you're still seeing movement between those two keyframes, it's because there's an issue with the value graph. There's the value graph is skewed in such a way that it's telling After Effects to actually change that value over time. So these lines actually represent values. You know, this line here in the middle is 0, so anything above is a positive value, negative value. So for this, you can see how if I drag this down, it's actually changing the value of the rotation. As opposed to the speed graph, which is just a speed graph. And if I change this same point on the speed graph, it's not changing the value of that rotation, right? Because it's just changing the rate of change of that rotation from one keyframe to the other, and it's changing the pattern of change. So how much does it change the first, second, third, fourth, fifth frame, on and on and on and on. So hopefully that makes sense. There's not a lot of videos out there that really explain the difference between the speed graph and the value graph. Maybe that's a video I'll have to put in the schedule. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete all these other keyframes outside of this because we're not dealing with that animation. Leonardo, thanks for the subscription. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you're always updated when we come out with a new video. Okay, so I think that's this rotation of the body is a little too crazy. And I want to just soften up the easings here. There we go. All right, let's preview this whole animation. There is one thing that's bothering me, which is I think I want, oops, wrong arm. What's that left wrist? Left ankle. Left wrist. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, this just needs to go back a little bit. I'm just gonna, oops. Solo that. Solo that. Let's see how it looks. Oops. There's something off about this rotation of the body. It's just tripping me up. All right, so now let's preview this with the background in. Good. All right, there's a few other things I could adjust, but I think you guys get the gist of what we're going for. So that's it. And I think we're rounding the corner on the end of this live stream. Before we end the live stream, I want to make sure we get everybody's questions. And let's just review the changes that we made to this walk cycle. So the first thing is we corrected those feet sliding. A big question that people get. The trick for me is to animate the walk cycle manually instead of doing a looped walk cycle and then trying to keyframe pre-comp position to go across the screen. So what I do is I do it manually, and of course we always animate the X position first, and then we add in our Y bounces or whatnot. And then when that foot plants on the ground, you got to make sure that the keyframe for when it first plants and then it lifts off the ground, those two keyframes are the same. And then you just go from, as your character moves across the screen, you just go from one contact pose to the next and make sure that all the contact poses look good. And then if those contact poses look good, the rest of your animation is going to look good. And then when it comes to waving, you got to just think about the action of waving. When you have your arm down to your side and you bring it up, It's going to come to the inside first, and then it's going to go to the outside, and then it's going to repeat those two positions over and over until your waving is done. Then it needs to come to the inside again before it goes down to the side of your body. So those stuff, it's all procedural. And then how much easing and how much you offset the motions. That's another thing I want to call out, the rotation properties of my at the FK rotations. I always like to offset these by at least one keyframe, because what that does is it gives you a nice bend in the arm when it swings, and it just feels a little bit more smooth. So we fixed the waving, we fixed the sliding. Other than that, like, not a lot of correction I need to do on the other parts of the animation. A lot of the corrections I would probably do at this point would just be more of subjective things that I like to do, or the way I like to animate. But yeah, generally pretty good. Again, this is the first kind of assignment in my course where I teach you how to create an animation like this, where the character walks in to frame, stops, and then does some kind of action. We go over how to break that whole process down, and then animate that. And so this is part of that assignment that one of the students was very graciously provided for today's live stream for us to look at and to talk about. By the way, if you have an animation that you would like to review on stream, and maybe it's an animation where you're thinking like, it just doesn't quite look right, I don't know what's wrong with it or whatever, or if you're just looking for general feedback, go ahead and email me or get in contact with me. You can go to my Instagram. The Instagram's below there, Keyframed. Or you can email me at john@keyframeacademy.com, and I'd love to take a look at any animations you might want to go over. And we can all give feedback, not just me, but people in the chat can give feedback. So if that's something you'd be interested, hit me up. Go check out my course, and then I think we're gonna wrap this up here. So this is your chance to put in any last questions in the chat. While you guys are doing that, I just want to say thank you for joining the chat. For joining the live stream rather. I always enjoy these live streams. They're fun to do, and I appreciate the questions that you guys bring to the table. Today's live stream's a little bit of a shorter live stream. Let's see, what are we at so far? We're at an hour, which is short for me, if you've ever joined a live stream before. So with that said, no, I don't have anything else to go over. So again, thanks for joining the live stream, and we will see you guys next time. Oh, before I go, tomorrow we have a video coming out on the channel, so make sure you're tuned in. It'll be in the morning time, my time, which is Mountain Standard Time in the U.S. So anyway, if you're subscribed and you have your bell notification turned on, you'll be notified when it goes live anyway. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to jump off here. Thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you guys next week on the